Good morning, welcome back to another Coastie Explores. Now you've got to keep exploring because I found a whole new bunch of exits here at Central Station that I never knew existed. I'm coming out of exit F here, probably into a very, very busy crowd. It's Sunday here and we'll have all the domestic helpers, their usual day off, and they flood this area. But I'm not here for that. Today it is Remembrance Sunday. So we're going to go up and have a little look at the ceremony taking place at the Cenotaph. So let's go. I have never ever seen it this busy. This is crazy. Lots of people selling things, lots of people just out meeting their friends, having some food here, sitting down having a chat. And the road has been shut off ahead for the Remembrance Day service, hence why probably people have to be down this end of the road, although this is always a busy little place. We're right in the centre of Hong Kong here. Now just before we get to the Cenotaph, there's a little old gem that I want to show you, so let's head down. This is Statue Square here. We've got the HSBC building behind this tree here, the Bank of China building. We used to have lots of different statues in the park here now. Only one statue, the old head of the HSBC Bank, Sir Henry Jackson, I think he is. He's there. But I want to show you this. This is a double post box and it's got a Scottish crown. This is the only one here in Hong Kong. Now, I didn't know this until I moved here, but in Scotland, they don't have the Queen Elizabeth II cipher on their post boxes. That's because Queen Elizabeth I wasn't actually Queen of Scotland, only England and Wales. So, hence why they only choose the Scottish crown to have on their post boxes. Check it out, we're on Chater Road here, and the Cenotaph is just over there, so let's go. It wasn't Sir Henry Jackson, Sir Thomas Jackson. That's who was the head of HSBC, and HSBC is this wonderful building right behind me. And also here at Statue Square we have got the amazing old Supreme Court building here. But we are going to make our way over there to the Cenotaph. Was the old Supreme Court building, now the final court of appeal here in Hong Kong. Now, Cenotaph. I didn't realise two words, Cena and Taph, coming from Greek words which means empty tomb. It's the 10th of November here today, but it is a Remembrance service Sunday, and that's because on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, an armistice which had been signed brought World War I to an end, where the Central Powers and the Allied Powers made peace. The Great War to end all wars came to an end. It was in 1920 when Britain put together a war memorial in Whitehall called the Cenotaph, and ceremonies have been taking place there ever since. Moved forward 3 years, and the government here in Hong Kong thought it would be wise to build their own cenotaph here. And just here, just in front of Statue Square, in front of the old Hong Kong Club building, we have the Hong Kong Cenotaph. Built in 1923, it would have once stood on the waterfront looking out over Hong Kong Harbour, and now today is well managed and looked after, and every year on Remembrance Sunday we remember those people who died in the war, not only here in Hong Kong but all around the world. Let's take a look at today's ceremony. Yeah, I just bought a poppy. Poppies grew on the old war fields of World War I in Belgium and France. It's been a symbol of World War I, but all the wars ever since. Right, the ceremony's about to begin. Always find amazing. I managed to shut off one of the biggest thoroughfares here in central Hong Kong during the 5-10 minutes at 11 o'clock. It's here, Connaught Road West, and it is very, very quiet. It shouldn't be this quiet. Here we go.
Thank you.
We'll remember them. At a cost of 60,000 Hong Kong dollars at the time, the unveiling of the First World War Memorial took place on Thursday, May the 24th, 1923, which was also known as Empire Day. Standing at 33 feet tall, Hong Kong's Cenotaph is almost an exact replica of the Cenotaph in London. At each corner of the steps to the Cenotaph, there stood, with their guns reversed, a sailor of the Royal Navy, an Indian soldier of the Bombay Grenadiers, a khaki-clad Tommy of the King's Regiment, and a member of the Hong Kong Volunteer Defence Force. Governor Stubbs inspected the Guard of Honour, and after giving a moving speech, he pulled the cord and the huge Union Jacks which had covered the memorial descended, revealing the Cenotaph in its completeness. I love this photo of a Spitfire that was placed in front of the Cenotaph in 1965. Not the first time one had adorned the Cenotaph, apparently. And here is a classic shot from the final service in 1997 under British governance, which, after a sudden gust of wind, a Black Watch soldier clearly answers that famous old question, what does a Scotsman wear under his kilt? Answer, absolutely nothing. And for those interested in learning more about the history of cenotaphs and the building of the one in Hong Kong, check out the article by Professor Ian Morley at the Chinese University, titled The Making and Maintenance of Cenotaphs. I'll put the link in the description below. Right next to the cenotaph here, we've got the Hong Kong Club, one of the oldest clubs here in Hong Kong. Beautiful old building, used to be here overlooking the cenotaph. Let's take a little look at that, what that looked like in the past. The Hong Kong Club, established on May 26, 1846, is the oldest private members club in Hong Kong and has played a significant role in the city's history. Founded by a group of influential British merchants known as taipans, the club originally served as a meeting place for the elite of the burgeoning trading community in a city that was rapidly developing into a major entrepot in Asia. The first premises were located on Queen's Road, but in 1897 the club moved to a more spacious building on reclaimed land facing Victoria Harbour. Throughout its history, the club has been known for its exclusivity, initially admitting only white male members and not allowing women to join as full members until 1996. The Hong Kong Club has witnessed various historical events and changes in society, maintaining its status as a symbol of privilege and power within the city's social fabric while adapting to modern times. Got the bagpipers now playing here in the ceremony. Bagpipes still a big musical instrument. Children play them in schools over here. and still a big part of ceremonies like this. And we will be looking at bagpipes later on, early next year, where we're going to find a bagpiper in a very rural location somewhere here in Hong Kong and find out about the history of bagpipes in Hong Kong. Now, there were just 3 years here in Hong Kong when there wasn't a ceremony here. Can you guess which 3 years they were? Well, it was 1942, 43 and 44 when the Japanese occupied Hong Kong. But ever since 1945 and onwards, we've had the ceremony. Some people thought after the handover in 97, things like this would stop, but no, they are still flourishing here in Hong Kong, and everyone, whether you're Chinese, Gurkha, Nepalese, British, all come here still on the 11th of November to pay their respects to the war dead. You can see the Cubs and Scouts, Girl Guides and all these other old clubs are still a big part of life here, community life here in Hong Kong. A huge array of them here gathered in front of the Cenotaph today. Now, huge Nepalese community here in Hong Kong, and that's because the Gurkha Regiment were here in Hong Kong after World War II, pretty much from the 1950s all the way up to the handover in 97. They have their own war cemetery here up near the border with the mainland, and they're still very much part of the community here. Many of them stayed after the handover, stayed on living here in Hong Kong, and many settled in communities like Yau Ma Tei. So if you want good Nepalese food, head to Yau Ma Tei. Now, right next to the Cenotaph, I found this gentleman standing right next to a tree.
This is not a ubiquitous banyan tree.
It's not, but we will find one, maybe this episode or in the next. He's here. And many different languages spoken here today. A lot of it was in English, but we also have Mandarin, Cantonese, Hindi. I think there was a Islamic imam, said a few words as well. So very much an international feel. We're now going to head off and go and have a look at the different war cemeteries around Hong Kong. And we're going to start up at the Botanical Gardens. At the entrance, there is a memorial to the Chinese soldiers who died primarily in World War I. So let's take a walk around Hong Kong and have a look at these war cemeteries.
The Chinese War Memorial was erected in 1928 in remembrance of those Chinese who fell in World War I. Damaged in World War II, it was repaired by the Hong Kong government to commemorate the Chinese who sacrificed their lives for the Allies in the World Wars. The memorial is guarded by 2 pairs of uniquely designed male stone lions, one at the front and one at the back.
And we've made it to Stanley Military Cemetery here on the south coast of Hong Kong Island. This cemetery began in 1841 when the British first arrived here in Hong Kong, and up until the 1860s this is where the British buried their soldiers and their family members. Just walking around, as soon as you enter you can see there's lots of actual tombs of young children here who died of disease, as well as many soldiers coming from Britain and over to China, the tropics. There were many diseases around in the 19th century, so it's really interesting to see just how many people died, not from being in a war or for fighting, but actually most soldiers and their family members died through various different diseases in those early days here in Hong Kong. Now, just here at the southern end of Stanley Cemetery, we have the Chinese memorial for all those Chinese citizens who died during both World War I and World War II, and it's noticeable just walking around. Many of them perished in World War I and World War II actually as merchant seamen. Their boats were obviously sunk by the Germans, the Japanese and others. And there are hundreds of names of Chinese servicemen who gave their lives for the Allied forces in both of the wars. All deaths in war, of course, are sad, but these graves all around here are particularly sad because all of these people died at the start of 1945 in the final days of World War II. Probably at Stanley prison camp, internment camp should I say, which is just across here now. We've got Stanley prison here behind, still a prison today, and the internment camp where many POWs were put from December 1941 onwards is just behind the trees there. So lots and lots of burials from 1945. They nearly survived the war, but couldn't quite hold on, unfortunately. Now, one of the earliest graves here is that of Louisa Bowery here, the beloved wife of James Bowery. She died on the 22nd of July 1843, aged 26, and it looks as though she died in childbirth because she had a son or a daughter who was just 2 hours old. May they rest in peace. Lots of graves related to childbirth here, but also, as I said before, these tropical diseases that were rife in Hong Kong in the early 1840s, 1850s. This guy here, H.W. Jackson from the Hong Kong Police, died 23rd of September 1945, which is about 3 weeks after the war ended, so he must have succumbed to either his wounds or to his treatment in the POW camp here in Stanley. Now, a lot of the graves here are from December 1941, and that's because that's when the Japanese invaded after bombing Pearl Harbor. They invaded Hong Kong at the China border, and within 3 weeks, by December 25th, Christmas Day 1941, Britain had surrendered, and the Commonwealth troops here were put in internment camps, sent to Japan, but many died. Many Canadians died, British, Chinese, Portuguese and other nationalities died in the defence of Hong Kong, and many of them are buried here in Stanley, but most of them are buried at the biggest Sai Wan cemetery. So let's head to Sai Wan on the east coast of Hong Kong Island now to have a look, and I've never been there before, so let's go.
Just before we head to Sai Wan, I make a detour to the Chinese University in the New Territories to look at a special World War II exhibition in the main library. In 2015, a tenement building in Hong Kong was set for demolition when an unexpected find was made in an abandoned unit, a weathered diary with only the year 1944 written on its cover. This diary belonged to Lam Ping Yu. During the chaotic years of World War II, he and 23 other Chinese naval officers were selected for training in Britain, ultimately participating in the largest amphibious invasion in history, the D-Day landings. On that historic day, nearly 160,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of France, marking the beginning of a crucial counter-offensive and paving the way for eventual victory. Within the pages of his diary, Lam vividly recounts a lesser-known aspect of history. Chinese soldiers not only fought bravely in Asia, but also played vital roles in significant battles across Europe. So do come and check out the exhibition if you're in town. It's free for the public and tells the story of these Chinese servicemen's service to defeating fascism all around the world.
And we've made it to the Sai Wan Military Cemetery here on the east coast, and over 1,600 mainly Second World War dead here in the cemetery. So let's find out a little bit more about the cemetery here.
Sai Wan War Cemetery, established in 1946, was created to honour the soldiers of the Hong Kong garrison who lost their lives during World War II, particularly those killed during the intense fighting that led to the British surrender on Christmas Day 1941. The cemetery contains the graves of over 1,500 Commonwealth servicemen, with many of them being unidentified, and also commemorates 12 World War I casualties. Among the notable features are the Sai Wan Memorial, which lists more than 2,000 names of servicemen who died in the battle for Hong Kong and have no known grave, and additional memorials for those whose remains were cremated or buried in mainland China. The site reflects a poignant history of sacrifice and remembrance for those who fought in one of the most pivotal battles of the war.
Many of the burials at the top here are unknown soldiers, so it just reads known unto God here at the top part of the cemetery tree. About 300 to 400 here at Sai Wan. So from here at the Sai Wan Military Cemetery, I'm signing off now. Hope you've enjoyed the trip to the Cenotaph this morning, and then to Stanley and to here in Sai Wan. Join me on the next Coastal Explorers when we will continue to be out and about in Hong Kong. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, like and subscribe. Take care for now. Bye bye.